being married an alien?
Well, you know, the thing that was the most intriguing to me, above all the other stuff, was when they would come into your body and see things for the first time. That was
Well, that's
really,
the home kind of people.
that's really
Not
amazing.
the little ones.
Because you're just driving and you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh. And you've driven this road. We got away from Eureka all the time because we hated it so much because it was all it was marijuana and whatever, and you know, people that were stuck in the 60s. And so we'd go every weekend or every other weekend to, you know, to Santa Rosa. And it was like we made this trip a zillion times. And this time though, it was like, oh my gosh.
Well, it was funny because I had been experiencing it up in Portland, and she just says, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I was talking crazy." I said, "I don't know," you know. And I said, "I think Jahome and them somehow are looking through my eyes." Because the only reason why I said it is because I saw the circle right out here to the side, the one time with my peripheral, and I said, "You know, are you guys looking through my eyes or something?" And they explained to me later, but.
But you
So
know,
when you saw that circle, was it like a portal or something, or?
No, it looked like a disc.
Okay.
we
little
saw
disc.
that a lot, the peripherals.
Uh-huh.
And especially when we were in the movie theater. I don't know why the movie theater, but I'd be sitting there and all of a sudden I see this boom, 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 boom. And after they went, oh my gosh. I said, there they are. There's the peripherals. And he's like, oh my goodness. And then he'd see them too. And why? Maybe because it was so dark in there.
Well, I know that they say in my world, they say that they tell a lot of people to be aware of the peripheral because that's how they usually appear to people in the beginning because they can't see them straight on, but they can see it here. So they tell me to tell people to look in your peripheral or be aware of your peripheral.
Well, there's actually an entity that is in your peripheral. You're right. So like Jahome, you could look at him straight on. And Cyria and Janina, you could look at them straight on. But there were these entities, and they like to dance.
Dance.
Yeah, they did. They loved it. Remember that?
Yeah, and
they
because I can
dance?
dance for 4 hours straight, it's like.
And I was concerned that it might be something evil because, you know, like the old worshipers and everything, but it didn't end up being that way. And, but yeah, peripherals is another entity that.
But also, remember when he explained to you about the eyes on the ones that had like starburst
yeah.
eyes? Okay, we went to work at the retirement center in Salem, Oregon,
Yeah.
and this woman moved in there, and she was just a doll. She was just a sweetheart, and we started having these encounters. Okay, and all of a sudden she comes into the office one day, and she had written a poem to us. A beautiful poem about us. And all of a sudden she looks at us, and Dave and I both just went, oh.
And we never noticed it before.
She had cat eyes. One
That-
was
you know,
brown and one was blue.
But but when I say cat eyes,
like on the
the
marbles.
iris was like this. You know, like you see on a cat.
Like on the marbles, the cat eye marbles.
And then she made me crazy then. Because I'd say, okay, tell me about your eyes.
And she just laughed. She wouldn't tell us anything.
And she'd tell Sheila, will you tell your husband to leave me alone? You know, and I just, come on, just tell me about
But
your
she
eyes.
would
That's all I wanna know.
she would never admit it. She would
Yeah.
never tell us.
But I read in books, I wasn't told by any of the ETs, that there is a humanoid type person that's ET, and they have the cat eyes.
And she definitely
And
had.
so she got married, and she was like 80-something, and her husband was 80-some years old. And she got married, and I didn't put this together until like within the last month. And he committed suicide
On Christmas.
on Christmas after the marriage. It's like she
That's
knew.
about it.
It's like she knew that we knew.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
kind of just giggled, you know. Like,
And I think, and I didn't put it together, and it may not be what happened. He took a gun and blew his head off. And
Yeah.
I told Sheila, recently, I said, you know why he probably committed suicide? She probably brought him in to her world. And it was too much for him to deal with. That's a guess.
yeah,
I
because
don't
they seemed really happy when we were there
Yeah,
before
and
that.
for him to
Right.
commit suicide.
So I don't know.
I'm thinking that him going into her world was just too much for him.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that cannot handle that information, and that's why even this interview, it's very select people that will look at it and say,
What? Tell her about the little boy.
Oh, what I did is I put a board up at this bookstore. Have you ever experienced anything paranormal? If you have, we'd love to meet with you such and such a date. 15 people showed up with all experiences like shit. It was all about ETs. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know. Well, one lady, she was a bank teller, and her son had told her, before they knew us or anything, that he had seen a UFO.
And of course,
And-
she didn't believe him.
Yeah, well, no.
Yeah.
Her husband, her ex-husband, was really adamant. Don't talk about that, people will think you're crazy. And he was really angry that the mother let him talk about it. So anyways, they came to the meeting. And so after the meeting, because we just knew that he'd seen a UFO and that was it. After the meeting, he admitted to his mom and said, no, I saw more than a UFO. I met somebody from UFO. Did he say the name?
And they like hot dogs. That's what he said. They keep stealing the hot dogs out of the refrigerator.
And he was
the mother
telling-
thought it was him.
He was telling the mom, and she thought, he's
Yeah,
telling
right.
a story for he's eating all the hot dogs. You know?
And he said, no, they come and eat all the hot dogs.
So aliens that love hot dogs. I never met them, but what happened was, after hearing Sheila's and my story and other people's stories, because there was two brothers that grew up with aliens in their lives, extraterrestrials, sorry, and they, I think they preferred we call them by their name, but did not like aliens. So anyways,
Well, no, they had told them not to tell anybody about the experiences that they had.
we tell them, we skipped
Right.
one spot.
Yeah.
She finally thought, well, I should get to meet him if my son's meeting him, you know? And so she asked him, says, ask him if I can meet them. So then we met every week after we got them together. And so she was all excited because they told her, yes, we will meet with you on such and such a date, just within the week. And she met him. She came after that meeting like totally blown away that she got to meet these aliens. The ship landed near their home, whatever, and they came open, so she got to meet them. I think it's just one, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Okay. Because it seemed like the boy was blaming the one for eating all the hot dogs. So she got to meet him, and then go ahead, you were telling one part.
Oh, and then he said, the little boy said, that they told him not to talk about it, not to tell anybody about his experiences with them. If he did, then they would leave, okay? And they just almost like threatened him not to say anything,
Or
not to tell anybody.
Or we'll take you with us, like abduction.
Yeah. So he told the whole thing at the meeting, okay? They disappeared. We never saw them again. Nobody
No.
knew where they were.
But see,
Nobody.
but it didn't just end there. Because they disappeared, mom and son disappeared, well, there's an angry dad that everybody knew about. And they were afraid he did something. So they
So nobody knows what happened to
completely investigated him for possible kidnapping or murder charges.
Never
You know,
found them.
just the way it slipped into that. So that was an interesting thing. It's kind of scary.
Yeah,
You know,
because they just were gone.
The owner of the store was a close friend of hers, and she was just really upset that she just disappeared. Didn't let her know what she was doing or anything. Just boom, gone. But and the store owner wasn't in on our meeting all the time. She ran the store, so she wasn't privy to a lot of information that went back and forth. But yeah, and there ended up being an investigation on it because they were afraid of murder or kidnapping. And he
Never
was in a
found
lot of,
anything.
he was in a lot of hot water.
Yeah,
For
but
a
they
little
never,
while.
but they never found anything. They
And
never found them.
so they're up in a spaceship somewhere eating hot dogs. So-